Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the Architects for the Soul. Today we have a very special guest. Her name is Mariana Custodio dos Santos. Mariana is an architect and urban designer from Portugal, recently working as a senior architect and designer at Zaha Hadid Architects, teaching at the Architecture Association in London and doing live workshops and webinar with students from all around the world. She was part of the design team of winning projects such as Navi Mumbai Airport, Western Sydney Airport, Exhibition Center Beijing, and most recently, the Tower C in Shenzhen. Welcome, Mariana.
Hi, Max. Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for inviting me. Really an honor. I think I've never met anyone from Honduras before, and you're like a great, excellent person to represent.
That's great. That's a huge honor. And you know, it's kind of cool because I recently I personally think that Zaha is the best studio in the world, and it's great to have you here. I have so much respect for Zaha and Patrick and all their work around the world. And when I was student, I was like looking these guys doing amazing things like out of the imagination. And I'm here with you talking about your experience, and I would love to know more about that. How is your experience with Zaha? Tell me more.
So it was the same for me, right? So I always saw Zaha as a main figure in architecture. I think that it's even too early to really look at her work as masterpieces and master of mathematics and engineering. It's even early. I believe that in a century, Zaha will be looked as one of the most important architects of the whole history of architecture. To be honest, I think it's just because we still have it in practice in the present, we still cannot give this full title. That's how we are.
Yeah,
But I really think that she was a brain that came for geometry, for mathematics, for pushing boundaries on not just form but also in geometry, and that was something that I think it's absolutely incredible from her office, and it still continues. So it's really an honor for me to be part of a really small history of the office. Right, I'm there for really little tiny period of time, but it's still an honor just to put my feet and to kind of work in there for a bit.
that's amazing. That's amazing, and you are bringing a legacy in a very smooth way. I would like to start with the beginning. When you finish your architecture career, what were your expectations about life and about architecture? Do you have a plan, or what was that experience?
So when I finished, I don't think I had the. I was always very focused on what I wanted to do, of course, but I didn't have a plan like written. And definitely, I was not aiming for big offices or corporate offices because I come from a small country, Portugal, and you kind of are made to believe that it's a small environment and it's too hard to aim for a very big one. And I think there's even this tradition that people think that you have to go through the small ones until you reach the big one, and it's kind of not true because you can start from a big one, and then if you want, you can go to smaller ones. All offices are different. It doesn't mean that because you've been through very small offices, you'll be up to a very big one. So I was kind of not unsure. I was pretty sure that I didn't want small environments because that would mean small scale projects. And as an architect, I know where my strengths are, and I'm a bit better at big moves and a bit better at visions and ideas. So I just knew what I didn't want to do, like most of us, right? So I finished and I knew, okay, not small companies, not small scale, and not construction detail, definitely not modernism, and definitely not restoration. Restoration for me was like, it's not it, not it. So I decided, like, okay, so I know what is not. Let me see what else is there. And that's, I think that from that point till now, I'm still like scheduling my all my days and planning all my days and then going step by step, step by step, step by step, day by day, and has been working so far.
I feel very It's funny because I think the exact same thing about in the same perspective. And how did you end up at Zaha? Like, how was
Uh,
your path to there?
so I did DRL, which was also a very important part of my life so far. It was 2 years, and it was groundbreaking for me in every sense. So as I finished my school and I had this mindset of what else is there, I went to DIA for an open day. I never heard about DRL before, and DRL was presenting, doing the final presentations, and I walked in and then I started listening to the presentations, and it was very obvious that that was the right place for me, and everything that I had been advocating in my country, and it was so shocking on DRL, it was like common sense. So I was like, okay, definitely here. And then I stayed on DRL. I worked with Patrick's studio, and that led me to the office.
Just to clarify, DRL is Design Research Laboratory at the Architecture Association. Can you explain more about what is Design Research
Yeah,
Laboratory?
yeah, of course. Obviously there are many ways to explain, but design research means that it's focused on the design scope of architecture. So I think I have a feeling that we all learn what architecture is during our school, and we never really grasp design, at least not in my country. We didn't grasp design at all. Most of the architecture was even um, getting some quality if it was completely stripped down from design. You don't even speak about design or aesthetics or form or elegancy or shape. You don't talk about this. And then on DRL, you actually not just talk about this, but you really look into the history of this. And then you combine this with technology, and you combine this with the present, and then you combine this with research, which is how can I help technology to evolve to make design even stronger and to make design even smarter, not just stronger. So it is mostly about technology and design. So because I did Patrick Studio, when you say technology, it's really much around algorithms and generative design and parametric design. So Grasshopper, Rhino, and a lot of Maya, which is the software that I do at the office and that I teach at the AA. And so that's a little bit about it. Of course, you have like 3 different studios. Okay, so you have Patrick Studio, which is more parametric design, and it's a little bit more like the office culture. And then you have Theodore Spyropoulos Studio, which is very interesting. It's more based on assembly and little prototypes. So it really drifts away from architecture, but it really is really focused on human behavior and technology. And then you have Shajay Studio, whom you know, and he does a lot of robotic fabrication, and the studios mostly do prepare geometry for robotic fabrication. So what is the best method to prepare geometry for robotic fabrication? This is like obviously a very quick brief of the studios. And then you get like 6 months of super intense software courses, mandatory, and super intense. And then after that you have the tools. Okay, I walked in, I had AutoCAD, and as I started, right?
Yeah.
So then you have the 6 months of full knowledge of softwares, and then as soon as you have the tools, you have a year to prepare your final thesis with your tutor and your final project with these tools. So that's the RL.
Cool. That's super cool, And so, what is your role in Zaha? And I especially like what do you was commenting about the mission of the DRL, because I work for Lava Laboratory for Visionary Architecture,
Hmm.
and basically we think the exact same thing. How we can in Lava is like how we can inspire by nature, and how it is the
Exactly. That's
how it is the
exactly the base of
conforming,
the RL. Yeah.
yes, of the nature, and how you through technology can improve the humans and life we through architecture. And
Yeah.
it's
And
super
yeah.
inspired looking in that perspective, because at the end nature is it's perfect, it's
Exactly. I think it's interesting how people think that we brought up nature to architecture as like an inspiration and a pretty argument, but definitely not. Nature has like all the rules and all the cues for what is design, optimized design. Nature has been optimizing in shape since way earlier than humans have. So their form has have a reason for many,
Yeah.
many, many years, much more than we do. Even Darwin evolution, we speak about it a lot in the DRL, but still Darwin evolution is not the same as nature evolution. We still have a long time to be fully optimized in our shape, and nature gives that away, right? They tell us which rules they follow to survive and to be
Yes.
optimized. So I yeah.
I
Also,
live
like
in
our job is to create spaces. We do artificial spaces, and
yes.
nature did the organic, natural ones, and we are still aiming to be as good as nature, right?
Yeah.
As in creating spaces.
We are not close enough, definitely.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I live in in Roatan. There is an island that basically is a beautiful Caribbean island, and here
Mhm.
we do a lot of snorkeling. And I very often go to the beach, and you can just swim, and you will find coral reef. And there is a funny thing that every time that I go, I discover something new, because coral reef, it's a city.
Mhm.
It's a
Yeah, I
city of
know.
fishes
I
and
was
and
obsessed with coral reefs for some time as well. Really obsessed, like folders and folders of study of pattern. Yeah, I know exactly
yes,
what you mean. Yeah.
and they are living buildings, because they provide food to the fishes, and they provide shelter, and they provide transportation methodology
Yeah,
and all this kind of thing. I think that nature has a lot of potential to inspire for
I
cities,
agree.
to
Yeah.
furniture, to buildings, and all
It
this
has
kind of
been
things.
here, it has been trying to survive for longer than us, so it knows better.
Yeah, it knows better.
Yeah. And it's
And
still prettier, which is even more
yes,
annoying, right?
yes, it's still pretty.
Yeah.
And in Zaha, how what do you think is the design philosophy of Zaha? From your perspective, of course.
I think that's a hard one because I've been at the office for 4 years, so I don't think I can say what's the design philosophy. I think I would say the same that you would say. I am a designer at Zaha, and I don't know what the philosophy of the office is, and it's a new perspective when you're working there. It's an office. It's your office, your everyday office.
Yeah. And what is your role into the Zaha, the Zaha team? What is your basically your the team that you are part of?
So I am a senior designer and I work for competitions. So the office has many clusters and departments, just like any big office has. And there is one cluster which is called the competition cluster. I think you know Lava has probably also the competition cluster. All offices have a competition, and I'm part of that cluster for the last 4 years. And what I do usually is 4 months or sometimes a month and a half on projects on a competition. We get the brief, we understand what are the clients' visions, and we also brainstorm together with our director, Paulo Flores, and then from that point on, everyone develops their own idea, models and models and models, and then you show your ideas, and then we brainstorm again, and then we kind of start cutting down to one option only. And that's the part when we submit. Of course, it's like
How do
6 months
sleep
and months.
well? Because you're used to kick asses all the time. Like
Yeah.
competition is like it's like the word competition all the
I
time.
think it also changed a bit. I think the culture changed with our generation as well. We are
Yes,
doing things in a healthier way, and we balance work and life. I would
for
say in a
sure.
healthier way. I know that this might sound a bit annoying for the senior people, but we kind of understood that there is mental health, there is a healthy balance, that there is a lot more than just work, and I think this new generation is even more like that. And I think that even for competitions, you also balance. There's time to
For
be
sure.
working and time to be doing your life.
For sure. And
So I get to
I
sleep.
yes, and I have a huge respect for Saha. We was talking before we started recording that Saha for me is the most inspired woman in architecture in the history.
Mhm.
And
I
I
would even
didn't
cut the woman off. I think she's the most inspiring architect.
yes, I think so.
Yes. Think
Yes,
about the other ones. Let's be
Yes,
clear.
yeah, I think that you're right.
Yeah,
I
I
never
think
think
so.
of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Probably is our hero.
I
But
think so. Yeah.
I also I like I was talking before, I met Patrick in person in a
Hmm.
conference that I organized when I was president of students organization in Honduras. He's a very very great guy. I remember that I was in the conference, and I decide to ask him the last question. Like, I was organizing the event, so I get that the last question,
Hmm.
and I ask, "Hey Patrick, how I can be the best architect of the world?" What will be your response to that question?
The best architect of the world.
Yeah,
I
how
don't
you
think
can be.
anyone should ask that. For one simple reason, we do artificial spaces. We can stretch as much as we can. We are the masters at doing fake spaces. And we are still aiming every day to make it more organic, more nature, more nature, more natural. We are always trying to make a building to be natural and not to cause this big splash whenever we do it, right? And the reality is we'll never beat nature on that, so we will always be the masters of artificial spaces. And I don't think that we will ever leave the world with this huge satisfaction of I'm the master architect of the best architect of the world, because I don't think we will achieve that unless you really want to splash, and that's what you do. I think that also at some point we will transition from I want to be the best architect to become more like business driven, and probably not just an architect but someone who runs their own business, becomes a business person, and it starts to be a little bit something else than the architect. That's what I think. So maybe the best architect is not even an owner, the owner of the office. Is someone
Yeah,
that works for an office.
true, true.
Yeah.
And for you, what's the point of architecture?
I think that the basics of architecture is to create shelter, obviously, and then there's something that for me always was something really important, which is it is the business card of a city. It shows identity. For me, it should show present, it should show past, and it should show a bit of future. So I think that architecture should translate the people that live in there. And if it's not the people that live in the city, and it should translate that epoch for someone that in 100 years would look at it and it would say, yeah, at this time these people were doing this and that was their routine. So it should be transparent of that. It should obviously be the best at providing shelter, provide shelter better than nature can provide shelter. Of course, we should
Yeah,
be do commodity and we should do functional, and we should provide shelter. But then there's that other responsibility of representation. What are we representing for the future? Because this is staying here. It's not that we are gonna, no one's gonna eat it and it will disappear. It will stay here. So we have that responsibility of representing times and representing people. So that's why that I was so against restoration when I was a student, because it's the opposite.
yeah, for sure.
It's
I
bringing to the
never.
present things from the past, and that pisses me off so much. And I was like 22 or 23, and I felt so like, why are you bringing the deaths to life, you know?
Yes, I think the exact same thing. I was like, I remember that I was looking in one project one time that a lady was explaining me about his museum restoration, and it was an old school, and I was like, she invited me to talk about the project. She was like talking about what it was like the renovation from the old building that now is going to be a museum, and she basically lived everything like it was, and I was thinking like, okay, let's have a balance, I said, and she was telling, no, we need to conserve those kind of things, and she showed me a model of a huge model of the school, and basically she was like trying to get in investors to invest in that project, and I was like, okay, but what is your product here? Like, is this same building that we are right now, what we are
Yeah,
offering new in terms of architecture and in terms
yeah,
of space, in terms of experience?
definitely.
And
And do you have to be an architect to reproduce something that was done in the past? Maybe no. Maybe you don't have to be an architect to do that. We should create spaces, not recreate spaces.
Yes.
I think.
Yes, definitely, because at the end, the architects make buildings of our era, like you was telling. And Walter Gropius and Miss Van der Rohe was creating buildings from their area. It was very cool. They changed the world, but it doesn't make sense to bring all these kind of things and replicate it today, because the time area is different.
Exactly.
We need to
Exactly.
adapt and evolve.
I agree. I agree with you 100%. But believe me that your whole country wants. My country was completely against. They told me that, like, they actually advised me, do not take this into your thesis. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to write this down, but I will never forget this. But it's reality. And I just think that we are so stuck with nostalgia, even I think it's even a reflect of our own fear of being forgotten, of
Yes.
disappear, of dying and disappearing. And I think we even translate that, move that to our practice of architecture, as if it is our fear of disappearing and not leaving any trace. But that's
Yes.
the reality. That's the reality.
Yes. At the end, we all, in one way or another, we looking for legacy.
I
It can
agree.
be
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. It can be from having a son, or doing paintings, or doing some sculpture, or doing architecture. And 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 I think that this is something very deep into the humans, that they always try to do legacy in what they are doing. And
Since
some of
ever,
some of
since ever. Yeah.
us try to do the next step, to do something very, very fucking cool into the
Yeah.
world and leave it there. And about projects, what is your favorite project that you have been involved, or not your favorite? Give me your top three, for example. What is your,
My top three.
yes, of
It
your
depends.
babies?
That was a. I think this is really lame, but I'm gonna tell you. I don't care. There was a time I was traveling. I used to travel alone quite a lot, to see cities and to see projects. I had like lists of projects that I wanted to visit, and there was one time I traveled to London. I came here, and they just got the London Aquatic Center by Zaha done. It was built, and I was not obsessed with Zaha at all. I was not obsessed with anything. I never had an idol in my life, but I was kind of, wow, I have to see it. I've never experienced an architecture, any architecture like that. So I came to learn. I've never experienced an organic building before, to be honest, and I don't consider Gaudi organic at all. I consider Gaudi Rococo. He's not organic for me, Gothic. So I came here and then I went to the London Aquatics, and it was like, I thought I cannot get in, right, because it's a private pool. And then I kind of saw that there was an event happening, and it was like a jumping event. So it was like a contest of jumping, when they're jumping and then like being classified. So I went there and then I walked in, and I promise you, I had also the ceiling embraces you a lot. That's why I was so emotional. But the ceiling is like wavy, and I swear to you, I was crying. I shed a tear. I shed a tear. It was really embarrassing, but I had like my eyes like starting to itch, and then like I felt that, oh my god, am I crying because of this stupid ceiling? And it's allowed. I think that you're allowed to cry or to feel
Or
emotional when you experience something for the first time. And that was definitely the first time to experience a whole organic building, and the roof, it really swallows you. It's an amazing feeling, that building. I recommend it to everyone. The inside, of course.
for sure. I before pandemic, I was in I went to New York, and actually in that same trip I met Daniel Levinsky, Bjarke Ingels. It was a super great trip.
Really.
And I remember to be in the World Trade Center building of Santiago Calatrava.
Ah,
And
yeah.
I remember to be there like for hours and hours. And I was
Yeah.
like, I was alone. So I sit there, and I
Yeah.
spent my whole day like sitting there, like looking the building, I going to one way or another. I was so
Yeah.
obsessed with the building, taking picture of the angles possible.
No, you're
I
right.
feel
I
you.
think some places have this magic. There's something there that it makes you stay. At the London Aquatics, I stayed and draw for under that heat. I was drawing and drawing for like 5 hours. And it's crazy, but there's something about these buildings. There's something magic about these buildings. About the Calatrava building, there's something not so magic about them. The budget was not very magical. All the lawsuits after, it's not magical, but the building is amazing, man.
Yes, yes, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. And I'm very interested in your thoughts about education, because you are like the star of showing techniques about modeling in the world of architecture.
Yeah.
I think that for me, education is that tool that allows the generation to explore more and more and more. What is
Yeah.
your perspective about, and what is your objective teaching these programs to
Yeah.
architecture students, or person that is interested in modeling?
Yeah. You know what, like I've been thinking about education quite often lately because it's going through a shift. Also, everything that Elon Musk's kind of make everyone wonders, unfortunately, which is annoying. And he says something and cryptocurrency changes 100%. And even about education, he said something and then everyone got pissed or they agreed. And I've been thinking about it quite often also because I've been experiencing it as a teacher at two different completely academies. I'm a teacher in an institution which is Architectural Association, and I'm a teacher live, independent. And what is happening is actually quite interesting. And I usually use the same metaphor for the same the same theory that is behind cryptocurrency. So there is a total decentralization of power, even in education. For one reason, institutions are too expensive. They pay bad. Students get too much money and have to pay too much money, and the teachers are not necessarily the best ones. Some of them, that's the only thing they do. Some of them are just being teachers just for no reason. That was not their first option. So when you look at the independent ones, the ones that are working live, they don't work for any institution. They have a direct contact with the student, so it's money in, money out, direct, with no one in the middle. And you're probably getting someone that is in practice teaching, which is the most common for architects. For example, right now, digitally, we have a lot of very, very good architects teaching from Big, from Foster, from Zaha, and they are teaching not through any institutions. They are teaching independently. Why? Because of time. It's not so time consuming, and because you don't have any institution cutting your salary, which is what happens when you're working for a school. It's insane the amount of money that students pay, and insane the salary for us, really, really low. So it's something that it makes you wonder, like, what is the future of education then, if these kids are getting a better knowledge, like, or a good knowledge online from people who are professionals, and they pay a lot less. They can pick and choose what they want to learn, and teachers also get a lot more money. I get, I don't know, 100 times more money. So it is quite interesting because it is
Yeah,
the decentralization of power, just like cryptocurrency. There is no intermediate, there are no banks, there's no one in the middle taking your money from here to there.
I love that concept, and it's more deeply
Yeah.
than I expect. And I actually met you because there is this guy's this name is Cesar Fragachan.
Yeah.
He worked for Zaha too. He's
Yeah.
from Venezuela. He's a very, very good friend of mine, and we was talking about with Cesar. He was talking me about the day in the studio. You use Rhino and Maya, and I was like, Maya, what is that? And and he started explaining me about the program, and I was like, okay, how can I can learn about what do you do? And he was telling me like, internet, brother. You have everything in the
Yeah.
website, and there is a lady in our studio that is called
A
Mariana.
lady. I'm like, he's older than me.
And she's great, and she do workshops. You should join. And I was like, okay, I will research.
You were my student. Damn, I remember. You were my student, right?
Yes, of course.
Yes. What the hell? Which one? Which of the courses?
The starfish.
Yeah, because I remember your renders.
Yes,
I remember writing down your name. Yeah, yeah.
it was super cool. Like
Did you like it?
I highly
Yeah,
recommend
that's
Mariana
cool. That's cool.
courses.
So
please.
you
This
enjoyed
is
it?
it's just an experience.
It is an experience, yeah. But how does it feel when you're doing Maya? It's so liberating, right?
Is similar to Rhino, I think, and
You
in
feel
a,
it, really?
yes, I see a combination with Rhino and Pretty Max. In it has is much easier to make complex things. Like you do it you do it in 1 hour because you was like
Yeah,
explaining, but you can do it that in 20 minutes, and when you have
yeah.
practice and you have so much. I see much too much potential in that
I
tool.
see a lot of potential, yeah, as well.
and and
Crazy.
and, and I think that we're gonna evolve to that, because at the end, I remember that I was in a conference with Chris Voss, and a student asked him, "Hey, what is the best tool of an architect?" He respond, "Your hand," because it's your
Exactly.
imagination, and
Exactly.
in
I
software
agree.
you can learn every
And that's
software that
exactly
you
what
want,
Maya
and
is.
gonna
Maya is
say,
like picking up a pen and drawing. That's Maya. And that's why it translates so good, like your ideas to 3D. Obviously you need some years to actually manage, and so
of
Maya is not
course,
an
of
obstacle,
course.
and it's just like a mean to reach to something. But it is the best translation. It's like picking up your pen and sketching.
That's good. I will have to take another course, because
You should have taken the concert hall. If you did the spaceship, it means that you're like ready
uh,
to.
yes, I will
I
be
have to
honest.
look at your renders because I remember it was good.
I really, really, really going to take another course because I am really interested in Maya,
Yeah.
and I would like to do the next step, but it was pissed me off because that those days was crazy. I had two projects in
Mm.
to deliver the same day, and I was like, come on, I need to take this course. Why these two projects come right now? And I remember that I was very pissed off, but I highly recommend it to everyone that is listening. Come to Mariana Instagram,
Thank
follow her,
everyone.
take the courses. It's just an amazing experience. Do it for yourself.
I'm hiring for marketing. That's exactly what I need.
Mariana, look, Mariana, it's almost the over of the show, and I'll have a very great conversation with you. And I would like to finish with one question that we do for all the person that is coming about the billboard question. The
Yeah.
billboard question is basically, if you have the opportunity to show one image, one sound, one video, whatever you want, one message in all the billboards in all the world for one day, what it will be?
What do you mean to show for one day?
Like you can put a message in all the billboards around the world for
Uh,
one day.
all the Bibles in the world. Mm, I would write this down. Don't read the Bible. That will be my message. Which is, it sounds provocative and empty, but it's actually more or less what I think. Don't read too much into the Bible. Don't look too much into the past. I mean, the past is teaching us lessons of people who also failed and who also were clueless about the present or the future. So they are not the answer for anything. They know as much as we do right now. So the past is not the answer. That's for sure. So yeah,
that's
let's keep that phrase.
that
Don't read the Bible.
that's very interesting, and I think that the past itself is I will describe the past as a challenge for the future. When
Yeah.
you look into the past and you see how the world it is and what is your opportunity to change it, you have a challenge that you can do the things better. And I think that even these climate things that are happening in the world and all the changes that we are experimenting as our generation is a challenge. It's a challenge of design, and it's
Hmm.
not on a social, economic, or whatever problem. Is it's a challenge of design that we as creators should bring into the table and create a new world. Actually, that's what is I am so passionate about Prospera, because Prospera is the opportunity to say, hey, there is a lot of things in governance that are bad, and this is the opportunity to make
Exactly.
all everything new and
I
better.
agree. I agree. I think that this is obviously dramatic, but this is also an opportunity of change. And that's exactly what we like. Some of us like. So if there is an opportunity of change, I sign up to that. And I think that right now there is a very big opportunity for change.
Yes, I like
Yeah,
that.
which is exciting. Yeah.
I like that. Can we put that in the billboard? There is a great opportunity of the for change.
You don't like my first phrase?
and the, and
Don't read the Bible.
and the Instagram account.
Yeah, an Instagram account.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need to do it like a stage, you know.
I don't know. I think I want to stick to don't read too much into the Bible. And this is a metaphor, just like Bible is. It is a
Yes,
metaphor. Don't look too much into the past.
that's cool. That's cool.
Especially
I
for like other particular people, for like me as a woman as well. There's nothing about the Bible that really makes me stronger as a modern contemporary woman right now. So there's nothing about the past that makes me as well. So don't read too much into the past, because it will make you an obstacle. It will bring obstacles that you don't need and that were created by men or
yes,
women. They were created by humans, these
yes,
obstacles. So let's not look at them and
yes.
surf this.
Of course, and I know I really appreciate you, Mariana. I think that you are a human, an incredible human, are a
Thank
woman
you.
that is inspiring. I told a friend that is called Miriam, and I told her, "Hey, I'm gonna talk with Mariana because she follows you, and she always are is talking to you." And she was so excited because yeah, that's the most inspired woman that I ever met in my life, and I was like,
Wow.
so
Wow.
you are inspiring people, and
Thank you.
one 50% of the time we don't know that we are inspiring people, and that's huge,
Yeah,
so keeping your
I know.
path,
Thank you
and
so much. Really.
you're great, keeping great, and let's change the past with
Yeah,
our
let's do it.
talent.
Definitely, let's do it. I'm here for that. Definitely.
Okay, thank you everyone for the one that listening. Hope that you enjoy the this chapter, and if you end up hearing here, come on, subscribe. You are now we are friends, like do it. So see you next time, everyone.